All right, so the second systems of equation, the second type we're going to do is by substitution. So it's called substitution, and there's also 3 steps to solving this. Okay. This is the second of the 3 methods. Okay, so this is the second of the 3 methods, and it has also 3 simple steps. First step is going to be solve one equation for either y or x. So we want x equals something or y equals something. So pretty much we want to solve and get either x alone or y alone. Okay, the second step is going to be substitute that x equals or y equals into the other equation. That sounds kind of confusing, but once you see it, it'll make sense. So pretty much once we solve for x and y, once we solve one equation for x or y, we're going to plug that into the other equation. And then we're going to solve for both variables. So we're going to solve for both x and y, so that way we write our answer as an ordered pair always. Okay, so there's our 3 steps to solving. So we're going to look at the first example. So our step 1 was to solve and get either x alone or y alone. When I look at these 2 equations, I see that I already have y alone. So I already have my first step done. So I'm going to rewrite this other one, this equation. So I'm going to rewrite that, and I'm going to write negative 3x minus 4. Now that this is solved for y equals, I'm going to plug this in for y. I'm going to plug this in for y. So now it's going to look like that. So since I had y alone over here, I'm just going to simply plug that in where I see y into my other equation. Okay, once I do that, then I'm going to solve. Okay, so now I'm going to distribute. So I'm going to have negative 3x minus 8x plus 20 equals negative 2. So I distributed. Now I want to solve. I'm going to solve for x. Okay, I'm going to get these x's alone and solve for them. Okay, so I have negative 11x plus 20 equals negative 2 minus 20 minus 20. Negative 11x equals negative 22. X equals 2. So now that I have x is equal to 2, I'm going to take that and I'm going to plug that back in where I saw x to find what y is. So I had y equals 2x minus 5. Now I know that x is equal to 2. So I'm going to write y equals 2 times 2, because x is equal to 2, minus 5. So y equals 4 minus 5. Y equals negative 1. Okay? So that means my answer... So that means my answer is now 2 comma negative 1. Because x is 2 and y is equal to negative 1. Okay, so let's just reiterate kind of what we had going on here. So we saw y was alone, so we substituted that in where we saw y into the first one. Then we solved, and we got x is equal to 2. Once we know that x is equal to 2, we plugged that in for x over here, back into the other equation. And then we solved for what y was. And then we wrote it as an ordered pair. Okay, so let's take one more example together. Okay, so let's do one more example. So our first step is to get x or y alone. So we don't have x or y alone here. So I'm going to get x or y alone. I notice that this x has a coefficient of 1. So it's going to be easier to get that alone. All I have to do is add 2y to both sides. So I have x is equal to 2y plus 3. So now that I have x alone, I can then plug it in where I see x into this other equation. So now I have 4, oh, that's the wrong one. Now I have 4 parentheses. So I'm replacing what x equals over here into x over here, 2y plus 3. Filling out the rest of the problem, 8y equals 12. Then I'm going to solve that for y now. So I have to distribute that 4. I have 8y plus 12 minus 8y equals 12. So 8y minus 8y gives me 0y plus 12 equals 12. This seems kind of weird, doesn't it? So now I'm minusing 12, and I have 0y equals 0. What happens when I have 0y? What happens when I have 0y? So what we really have is 0 is equal to 0. When we have something such as 0 is equal to 0, if you remember, that means we have infinite solutions. So our answer is really infinite solutions. You could simply write the infinity sign. So I want you to take a couple minutes and I want you to try to solve example 3. Okay, I want you to try to solve example 3. So I want you to pause the video and I want you to solve example 3. After you're done solving, then unpause and you will see the answer. So take a minute and pause the video now. Now that you've solved, hopefully you get the answer of -4, -3.